As the title of the video says, Hubris is not a good video game. Look, it's not like it's terrible or that it is broken or anything, it's just that it is so very mediocre in almost every aspect. The story falls flat, the voice acting is bad, most gameplay mechanics are average at best, there are only some redeeming factors like the visuals and excellent swimming mechanics. So let's get into that a little more. Let's see what the game is all about, let's see what works and what doesn't, where the game succeeds and where it fails. Let's do a virtual panic review. Welcome recruits. You find yourself on board a spaceship, off to be trained to become an agent of the OOO, the Order of Objectivity. On your way to the pleasure domes of the Pillow Planet, your ship intercepts a distress signal and is ordered to investigate. After a somewhat rocky landing, the fate of the planet rests on your shoulders. So together with your pilot and Captain Lucia, who would rather commandeer a pretty much useless drone than to accompany you in person, you work yourself through this alien world in search of another OOO agent. Hubris is a strictly linear adventure game. There are some traversal elements, you need to climb, platform and swim. There's a rudimentary crafting system and some material collecting. There's very little exploration or puzzle solving, but there's lots of shooting. Let's start with the biggest disappointment of the game, the story. Well, you pretty much already know the full extent of the story by now, there's little more to it. The setup is pretty neat actually. The Order of Objectivity has this dystopian tone to it, like a Ministry of Truth, right? Or the militaristic arm thereof. Combined with the somewhat over-the-top humor, the thing gave me some serious Starship Troopers vibes. They had a demo out for the game for ages now with the first section completely playable, and it had me intrigued. For sure this world has potential for some interesting storytelling, but the game does not deliver. There are aliens invading and you need to fight them off, that's it. No deepening of the Order's lore, no real world building, not even the cliche, oh it turned out your beloved OOO were the bad guys in the first place. Nothing. There's a lot of dialogue, well mainly monologue delivered by pilot Captain whatever Lucia, but you will meet two additional characters, the buddy engineer and the badass ghost chick. All dialogue just serves one purpose, to give the player a reason to go from point A to point B. At one point Captain Lucia is like, oh you two go ahead, me and the recruit go resupply. And I was like, finally, now we're talking. What are those two not supposed to hear? Give me the secrets, the conspiracies, the juicy details. Turned out she lured me away from the others so that we can resupply. And by resupply I mean stand in front of this machine for 10 minutes straight, but we get to that later. It's frustratingly disappointing and shallow. The studio claims they want to expand this universe onto a grand sci-fi saga. But how and why if you have no stories to tell? And if you have stories, why didn't you tell one in this first expedition into your new world? It doesn't help that the voice acting is pretty bad. The main culprit here is Captain Lucia, who delivers everything in exactly the same cheery tone, no matter the circumstance. During combat she always gives the same comments that gets annoying really quick.
Here they come! Where do they keep coming from? Incoming!
And there's a lot of combat in this game. The other voice actors are serviceable, the characters are so one-dimensional that you probably can't do much with the voice work anyway.
Hey recruit, can you join me? I could use your help.
So the story falls flat, but a game does not necessarily need a good story to work if the gameplay is good. How are we looking on this front? We have to break the section up into the three main gameplay mechanics: traversal, crafting and combat. Let's do it in this order. The game has smooth movement and only smooth movement, but there's also a lot of climbing, jumping and swimming. The climbing is decent. You can grab onto climbable ledges and push your hand down to jump on top. It is not always obvious which ledges are interactable. There's a setting to highlight those that are, that is a bit immersion breaking, but I found it preferable compared to trying to grab every ledge. The game does not really like it when you cross your arms though, and sometimes it just won't let you grab on if you do. There are some sections where you need to jump towards the ledge and hold on. That often did not work well for me and could be a bit frustrating. In the release version the game would often catapult you out of bounds and kill you when jumping up on a ledge, but they fixed that problem pretty quick, that's always a good sign. Good part of the game is underwater. You use motion controls to swim, which works absolutely fantastic. I'm a fan of motion controls for locomotion if it makes sense, like it does for swimming or kayaking. Well, there's no kayaking in this game, but the swimming mechanics are fabulous, they just feel right. You don't need oxygen, by the way, your suit provides. Then there's a little bit of platforming, which was okay for the most part. I have to mention though, while combat is the main gameplay mechanic, I died to falling into the void way more often than to getting shot by aliens. And there's this one section where you have to jump on bugs that walk to and fro in this acid pond. I don't know if this was supposed to be a reference to 1990s platformers. It felt ridiculously out of place in this game. At some point there's a speeder section, which is okay, it works. There are only 2 speed settings, boost or no boost, and all you have to do is avoid obstacles. This could have been so much better if you had full control over speed and maybe a gun to shoot and aliens on speeders that follow you, and yeah, I don't know. Like so many aspects of this game, it just feels like a wasted opportunity. When not jumping, swimming or climbing, you spend a whole lot of time in the game collecting materials for the crafting system. A system that is all over the place. You can only craft at crafting stations, and there are, I don't know, 5 or 6 different types of crafting stations in the game, each with its own purpose. So the main crafting system is for weapon unlocks and upgrades. There are 3 weapons in the game, well 4 with the underwater weapon, but that one is not part of this crafting system. We will talk about the weapons a bit more in detail in the combat section of the video. You will get the pistol for free, but will have to unlock the shotgun and the SMG, and you can upgrade each weapon twice with raw materials, like metal, fiber, plastic and the cyan colored stuff that is called cyan. You don't find the raw materials in the world though, well you find a little bit, but mainly you just collect junk to convert into the raw materials with the extractor that is always part of the crafting station itself. Then you take the raw materials and put them into another part of the crafting station, and they are usable for crafting. The materials you feed into the station are persistent over all stations, so you can just feed everything you found into one of those and use them at any other station of the same type in the game. Which makes the whole raw materials kind of redundant. The only thing you do with them is to pull them out on this side and put them in on that side. When the meter is full on one of them, you can continue feeding materials into it. It will still count, but you might get a display bug at some point. Apart from weapons, there's also a crafting system for consumables, all of them food items for healing. There's 3 different types of food items, each with their own separate crafting station. Each type also has several variants that all do the same, they are just reskins. There are a bunch of different organics you can find. Again, they all do the same thing, they can all be used to craft every food item, but might change the variant on some of them. Best food item is the potion. There's only 1 station for that in the game that you can access twice during a playthrough, so you will want to make use of it. It is beautifully animated, it is absolutely gorgeous to look at, but it takes forever. You will literally stand there for up to 10 minutes only doing this. There really should have been some sort of bulk crafting. Then there are some progress relevant items that again have their own station, and ingredients is a bit of a mess. The game would have benefited greatly from a coherently designed system. So when you're not busy standing in front of a crafting station, your main activity is shooting aliens, or the local fauna. By the way, you can distract these little tick things by feeding them fruits, which is kind of adorable. Unfortunately, there's no eating animation, the fruit just vanishes. Biggest missed opportunity in the whole game. Combat is by and large okay-ish. It works, but it does not feel very good. The guns lack impact and feel a bit floaty, and are pretty imprecise. Especially with the SMG, it's more of a spray and pray situation. There's the option to calibrate your aim, that is good, and I would highly recommend to do so. I had a much easier time landing my shots after calibration. But like so many aspects of this game, this is not really thought through. Look, the SMG has this red dot sight, and well, where your shots land and the position of that red dot, no correlation really. I had the best results with calibrating aim and then completely ignoring the sights. There are 3 weapons in the game, plus 1 weapon for underwater use. The pistol is the most precise weapon and viable for high range. The so-called auto rifle, which is an SMG really, works with all ranges but is pretty imprecise, and the shotgun is for short range obviously. You will not be able to fully upgrade all weapons, so if you chose to go all in on the shotgun, then, well, it sucks to be you, because that thing is pretty much useless. Most of the enemies in the game die with 1 shot from any weapon, even on veteran, the hard difficulty, so the shotgun really has no advantage. There are 2 types of enemies that are a bit tankier, the drone that flies, pretty much impossible to fight with the shotgun, and the heavy dude that shoots you through cover. The only way not to get melted by that guy is to keep your distance. Again, shotgun, not the best choice. Fully upgrading the SMG is by far the best option. That will be the only gun you need for the entire game. If the game gives you a choice between 2 advanced weapons and one of them is so clearly superior, that's terrible design. You have unlimited ammo for all your weapons, but you need to reload by holding the gun up to your head. So it's like shooting 1 alien, holding the gun up. Shooting 1 alien, holding the gun up. I'm not a big fan of that system. There are only one-handed weapons, you can't dual wield. There are no grenades to chuck, no real reload mechanic. It is as if combat was designed to be playable with only 1 controller. I don't know why. It's not that kind of game that would benefit from being playable one-handed. But with the SMG in hand, combat encounters work good enough. Enemies will sometimes try and flank you, there's always cover to duck and hide behind. You can hang from a ledge and pull yourself up just a little bit and surprise the hell out of these alien bastards. All these little things that make motion controlled shooter combat so much fun are there and make the combat experience at least somewhat enjoyable. There's also underwater combat that is basic. Sometimes you need to dodge, that's about it. Later in the game you get an upgraded gunzo that will let you shoot controllable mini torpedoes, that's pretty awesome. There are 3 difficulty settings. I completed the game on Trooper and on Veteran difficulty, and honestly I couldn't tell you what the difference is. They felt pretty much identical to me. So if you're going for all achievements, you might as well play on Veteran right away. The game got a lot of attention because of its visuals, and yeah, it does look good. In my opinion, it's not the best looking VR game of the year. I would give that award to Red Matter 2 because I just like the aesthetics of that game more. But Hubris definitely is solid when it comes to texturing, world design and front and foremost animations. Some of the character animations are top tier, well, others not so much. At the very end, the art style gets a bit inconsistent with this very comic-y looking explosions that do not fit the rest of the game aesthetics, but all in all it's a good looking game. Performance is solid until it isn't. With my admittedly somewhat aging hardware, it kept a solid 60 FPS on max settings, that is with a 2070. After some playtime though, performance consistently screeches to a halt. Sometimes it was enough to open up and close the menu to get it going again, sometimes I had to restart the game, so there seems to be some kind of optimization issue and I hope they managed to fix it. Music. There is no music. I don't know if I've ever played a video game that did not have any music at all. It's not like it is immediately off-putting, but it is again a big wasted opportunity. Music is such a powerful tool to set the mood of a scene. Without that, and with a shallow story and flat voice acting, there really are only the visuals, and while the visuals are good, they are not that good that they could cover up all the other shortcomings. There are different types of VR games, right? Different reasons to make a VR game. Among the lot, there are those games that try to create a truly immersive experience. Worlds that players can dive into and lose themselves in. Hubris could have been one of these games, but fails with the execution. Hubris is way too static. You can interact with basically nothing that is not strictly necessary for gameplay. There's this distinct loot crate you can open, everything else is static. There are only certain ledges you can grab onto. There are bodies all over the place that you can't interact with. There are no objects lying around that you can pick up except crafting materials. The only exception is this loft room, but that is way too late, too little. So the world feels artificial. It does not feel real enough to be truly immersive. The game offers about 5 to 6 hours of playtime. My second playthrough was about 4 hours. I do not recommend to get it for the full asking price of $40 US. Maybe if you get it on a steep discount you can have a fun evening with this, mindlessly shooting some aliens and enjoying the silliness of it all, but yeah, there's not more to it than that. This would have been better off as a budget title for 15 to 20 bucks or so. All gameplay problems aside, what I am most skeptical about is the studio's plan to expand Hubris into a grand space saga across different forms of media. I don't know about that, man. They would have to step up their storytelling capabilities by a lot. This first look into the world of Hubris, this is not it, chief. If you found this video helpful or at least a bit entertaining, consider subscribing to the channel. We do honest VR reviews, gameplays and news, everything VR gaming related because VR is our passion. See you in the next one.